The first thing you learn in my family is how to laugh on cue, not loudly, not rebelliously, just enough to signal that you understand the rules. Thanksgiving had always been a rehearsal dinner for belonging. Same polished table, same heirloom plates, same unspoken ranking system disguised as tradition. I came because absence would have been a greater crime than discomfort. My mother carved the turkey like a surgeon, steady, composed, satisfied with the precision of her own hands. She always performed competence as morality. "Thanks to your miscarriage," she said lightly, slicing through white meat, "our family line remains pure." The knife did not pause. A few cousins inhaled sharply. My sister laughed first. She always did. It earned her approval. She reached over and patted her son's head. "One real grandchild is enough, don't you think?" Laughter followed, uneven but loyal. I watched the steam rise from the platter. I watched my nephew's small hand smear cranberry sauce into the tablecloth. I watched my mother's mouth curve with the quiet satisfaction of someone who believes she has protected something sacred, purity, as if grief were contamination. The old instinct stirred. Minimize it. Smile faintly. Let it pass. Preserve the evening. Preserve access. Because that was the currency here, access. To inheritance. To stories. To approval. To the house. Especially the house. I had grown up under its heavy beams, under portraits of ancestors whose expressions suggested endurance was virtue. My father used to call it legacy. My mother called it proof. Proof that we came from something superior. Proof that blood mattered more than kindness. I set my fork down carefully. No scraping. No dramatics. Silence has a texture when you stop participating in cruelty. It thickens the air. A few relatives shifted. My sister avoided my eyes. My mother continued carving, but her rhythm changed slightly, the knife pressing harder than necessary. I stood. For a second, no one reacted. They assumed I was going to the bathroom, or the kitchen, or to cry privately, like a well-trained daughter. I did none of those things. "I won't be staying," I said. Not loud, not trembling, just accurate. My mother finally looked up, not concerned, irritated. "Don't be sensitive." It was a joke. I nodded once. I know, that confused her more than anger would have. I let the silence work for me. There are moments when power shifts loudly, slammed doors, shouted ultimatums. And then there are moments when it shifts because paperwork exists. 3 weeks earlier, I had sat in a conference room across from a probate attorney and signed documents my mother had never imagined I would understand. The house wasn't technically hers. It had been placed decades ago in a trust my grandfather structured oddly, favoring the eldest child demonstrating fiscal responsibility. My brother had defaulted on loans. My sister had never been interested. I had quietly taken over tax payments years ago, something my mother treated as dutiful rather than strategic. When my grandfather died, the trustee executed the clause. The deed transferred to me. I hadn't announced it. There had been no need. Until now. "The house will be listed next month," I said, adjusting my coat over my shoulders. "You'll receive formal notice from the estate office this week." My cousin blinked. "What?" My mother's face did something subtle, not shock, calculation. "That's not yours to decide," she said, the softness gone from her voice. "It is," I replied, "legally." I did not elaborate. I did not hand out copies. Authority doesn't require theatrics when it is documented. My sister laughed again, but this time it wavered. "You're being dramatic." "I'm being practical." I looked around the table at people who had perfected the art of ranking human worth by fertility, by obedience, by resemblance. "There won't be another Thanksgiving here," I said. "You're welcome to host elsewhere." It wasn't revenge. It was restructuring. My mother stood abruptly. "You would destroy your grandfather's legacy over a joke?" "No," I said. "I'm ending it because of a pattern." Her mouth tightened. She wanted spectacle, tears, an argument she could dominate. I gave her none. The turkey cooled between us. The room no longer felt ceremonial. It felt exposed, like stage lights had been turned on mid-performance. My nephew began to fuss, confused by the adult silence. My sister gathered him protectively, as if I had threatened something more than property. No one apologized. They didn't know how. Belonging in this family had always required submission. I was withdrawing my application. I walked toward the front door. The hallway smelled like polish and roasted meat. Childhood compressed into scent. My mother's voice followed me, sharper now. You'll regret isolating yourself. Maybe, but isolating chosen is different from isolation imposed. At the door, I paused just long enough to look back. They were still seated, still processing, still assuming this could be undone with persuasion. It couldn't. The sale wouldn't ruin them. The proceeds would be divided according to the trust's instructions. They would be financially fine. What would disappear was the stage. The ancestral dining room where cruelty wore lace tablecloths. Outside, the air was cold and clean. I exhaled and realized my hands weren't shaking. There was no surge of triumph, no cinematic swelling of justice. Just a quiet recalibration. I did not lose a family that night. I lost access to a structure built on hierarchy. There's a difference. As I drove away, my phone buzzed once. A message from my sister. You didn't have to embarrass Mom. I didn't respond. Embarrassment requires shame. What happened at that table was not exposure of weakness. It was exposure of leverage. The house would sell. The gatherings would relocate. The story they told about purity would continue somewhere else, perhaps softer, perhaps louder. But I would not be there to validate it. Breaking generational cruelty isn't dramatic. It's administrative and final.